you just raise funds, you can make some nice money because there's two types of people, right? Those who have it and those who need it.
Welcome everyone to our Hero Capital show. I'm your host Tim Mai, and today I have a good friend on the line with us. We normally interview syndicators, but today's one of those special days where we interview a hard money lender, Mr. Rick Bresler. Rick is the founder and CEO of Katy Capital, which is a hard money lending company specializes in providing strategic financing solutions for real estate investors, including funding rehab projects, new construction projects, as well as refinances. And Katy Capital also offers traditional mortgage products as well. Rick been providing funding to investors since 2013 and raises around $18 million a year to a group of repeated investors. And so super excited to interview you on this show. Rick, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it's a pleasure being here. Tim, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, let's start if you can share with us a little bit about your journey, especially how you got into this world of real estate funding.
Yeah, so I started fixing and flipping before most of your people were even born on the call. Back in 85, I went to the courthouse, borrowed my first foreclosure on my credit cards, and went down, bought my first foreclosure in 85 for $18,201 right
Wow.
behind the Walmart out here in Katy off of Fry Road and I-10. And then I sold it for $30,000. So back
Nice.
then, that profit was huge. That was like half of what I was making at the time. So I just kept going back to the courthouse and buying properties as a side hustle. I was in the oil and gas business, chemical engineer, working mostly offshore projects and business development stuff. And by the time the Great Recession rolled around, I'd been in and out of at least 70 deals. Fortunately, I was out of the market when the recession happened. And then in 2011, I backed the bus up and bought a bunch of rehab projects. All I knew back then was fix and flip. I was just a side hustle. I had my own cash for the most part, didn't need financing, so I would just fix and flip. And I backed the bus up, bought a bunch of real properties, fixed them up, and I timed the bottom perfectly because I could not sell any of them for a profit. Bottom had hit, I had to keep them, so I refied. I was what do they call it? An unwanted landlord, accidental landlord. Thank you. But then the market snapped back. 18 months later, I was able to refinance everything and get my money back. But back then, the only thing going was conventional loans, right? The DSCR products and stuff weren't happening. And unless you had 800 FICO score, it was real hard to get financing back then anyway. The credit markets were really tight. So I'm sitting on all this cash. I wasn't very smart because I figured the market came back so quick, we're going to have to wait for another turn down. So I started lending. Yeah, if I had to do over again, I would have kept buying. But no, the lending was a blessing. We started doing private money lending, and then that business just took off. I was fortunate. They got to saying, be careful who you hang around with. You're going to, the five closest people if you're around 5 millionaires, you're going to be the sixth. So hanging around a bunch of engineers that were working for me. And after I did my first loan, I got 2 points, 12% interest. I talked to a friend of mine, and we had another opportunity to help a guy that had 4 townhomes in Midtown here in Houston, new construction. So we did that $400,000 loan, got 2 points, 12%. All of a sudden, I'm making $6,400 a month in interest. And I got, was it $10,000 in points? So that was like crack cocaine to a junkie, to an engineer, right? That was a great little side hustle we had going on. So I did a lunch and learn. I had about 18 engineers that were working for me come in. I told them what we were doing, who was interested, and I raised $4 million right there, not having a
Wow.
clue what the heck I was doing. So,
I love it.
so that's how I started, and which just goes back to emphasizing it's about relationships, right? Just having lunch and learn, and then have people just they've worked with me, they trusted me, and they were easy. And then we just built that up. Just more engineers would find out about it. Ex-wives found out about it, and they were all our capital partners. And so anyway, that's how we started raising money. And then that just expanded. Once the DSCR loans have been around for a long time in the commercial space, but for residential real estate, it really got going in about 2017. We jumped on that boat to refinance our fix and flippers out that wanted to be buy and holds. Because until about 2017, it was hard for the average guy who was a real estate investor that didn't have a job, didn't have W-2 income to get a loan. If you couldn't get conventional, it was tough. And we saw the need for that. So we've really become DSCR lending experts. We know about almost everyone across the country, so we can get our borrowers into the best deal out there, depending on what their circumstance is. And then we started getting our guy's license. So now we can do the whole ball of wax. But that's a nickel version of how we went from A to Z so far.
That's amazing. I love that. And I am one of those accidental landlord back in the last market crashes. When the market turned, I had 30 something houses in different stages of constructions back in 2008. And buyers completely dried up. And yeah, so it was a challenging time. That probably was the most challenging time in my real estate career, was in that last market crash. And I came to the US and here in Houston in 1987. And I didn't get to participate in the 80s crash here in Houston, but I do know a bunch of people who bought houses dirt cheap back then. Those houses that you mentioned that you bought for what, 18,000? They're like in the 300 plus thousand or more right now. It's crazy.
Wish I'd kept them all.
Yeah, that's amazing. And one of the things that you mentioned that you did early on in your lending business, that lunch and learn, was it just intuitive? You thought of that idea, or how did you implement that idea? Because it's a brilliant strategy. I love this strategy.
So being in the business development part of the oil and gas business, right? So we'd have vendors come in, do lunch and learns, because we're always buying equipment, we're always doing stuff, right? So it's just a great way to grab people's undivided attention and buy some sandwiches or whatever. So it's just a natural thing to do. Just come on in, I'll provide some sandwiches and some snacks, and let me tell you about what I'm doing. And again, if you're talking to engineers, you start talking numbers. And at the time I was offering 12% returns on their money, right? So they give me $1 million, you're making 1% a month on that
That's
money.
awesome.
Because I was using my money with theirs, and I would get the points and the fees, and I'd get the interest on my money, and they would be getting their
Nice.
money. So it was a win-win. I wasn't doing it as a business at that point. It was just a side hustle, but it rapidly became more than I could do at work and between lunch breaks and stuff. So fortunately, my wife, the patch was really going downhill. My wife, company was going bankrupt as oil prices at that point were dropping. They had been like to $100, $110. They were going down to 30. And at 30,
Wow.
her company just couldn't hang anymore. Their expenses were more than their revenue. They went bankrupt. She turned the lights out. And I said, okay, you're running the lending business. And by the grace of God, it was like a duck hitting water. She was just a natural at it. So I've now passed the torch. She knows everything I
Nice.
know times 10, right? So she runs the hard money part of the business, the private money part of the business. But anyway, that was just a natural thing to do. And so we still try to go to real estate offices. We try to do a little lunch and learn type of stuff. It's just a good way to get with people and entice them enough to go up.
So the company that you were at, they didn't mind that you did that?
No, I was doing it. So that's why I eventually had to retire. I felt bad having to spend a little time at work to make the title companies are only open between 9 and 5. So if you got a closing, there's a problem, you got to show up. So we were lucky enough, we were basically replaced our income with the lending business. And after about 35 years or so, it was time to do something else anyway. And this was my passion, real estate. So I hung it up in 2018, and it was going to be a mom and pop operation, but now there's 10 of us. So the last thing I wanted was employees, but I got them.
Yeah, that's so good. For those, because I know there's a number of people on this call that are still in W-2. And how would you suggest for them to get people from their work interested in this lunch and learn? So if they were going to do this lunch and learn, whether it's weekday or like on a Saturday kind of lunch and learn where everyone's off already, like how to have that conversation to have their coworkers interested?
Yeah, it's all about it's storytelling, but you got to tease them with where it's coffee bar conversations or whatever. Hey, we're doing this. Do you want to make, at the time I was offering 12%, you were making maybe 1% with your money. And of course I was
Right.
around, we'll call them high net worth people, but the engineers had two, three, $400,000 in the bank doing nothing. And you give an opportunity to make 12% returns. So it doesn't take a whole lot to do it. And once you get a few people, it's just, hey, coming in for lunch, show you about an opportunity, something that I'm doing, you might be interested in. It's got to be very soft shoe, and it's storytelling. It can't be a hard sell. It's just got to be very soft, and you almost want to pull something back. I got a little room for some deals coming up. Let me know if you're in. If you're still interested, I'll put you on the bench. And it's because you can't, like right now, I'm working with a family office, maybe come in with 15 million, and I can't get 5 million working tomorrow. I said, I can take 5 million, but it's going to take me a few weeks to get that money working. But there's another opportunity. And I guess I'll digress. The way I met that guy was just sitting in the front of the plane on a flight from Chicago to Houston. And I was
Mm.
just there talking with the guy. What do you do? The next thing I know, the guy's called me up on the phone. Hey, I enjoyed our conversation. Tell me more about what you're doing. And he goes, if I had 15 million, could you guys use it? And it's
Mm.
like, thank you, Lord. Where did this angel drop out of heaven from? But if you're an introvert, you're going to have to get out of your introvert and talk to people. This guy was an extrovert. I'm an extrovert. So it was easy to talk almost all the way back. I wanted to read a book, but he wouldn't shut up. And I had to talk all the way home, but it was a great conversation. And you never know where that relationship is going to get struck up from.
Yeah, that's so good. I love that. And yeah, for those of you who maybe you're newer to the business and the idea of hosting a luncheon might be intimidating for you, you can always partner up with someone like Rick, someone who's more experienced. You invite the crowd and the other person can do the talking, educating your potential coworkers to potentially invest with you. And so yeah, especially if you're going to be doing it locally, find a local operator, a local hard money lender, someone who can talk the talk to help lead that lunch and learn session. That's a really good idea. One of my friends who I interview on this show, Rick, he does his lunch and learn like once a week at his office. So it's an automatic thing that he invites his investors to. So he's already there at lunch every week. So I don't care if one person show up or 10 people show up. We'll order some food and feed them, and I get to talk to them during my lunchtime. Have you ever done anything like that?
Yeah, so my two big pools of borrowers is Southeast Texas, Houston, Beaumont, Galveston. And the other one I have is up in northern Indiana, of all places, from Gary, Indiana, all the way across to South Bend. And when I go up there about 4 times a year, 3 or 4 times a year, and when I go up there, I have what we call a hangout. So I blast all the people up there and say, hey, we're going to be hanging out. One of the places we do it was a place called not Torchy's Taco. It was a taco place. And we'll just show up. We get the back room. And almost every time I do that, I've got 12, 14 people show up just to hang out and talk real estate and lending for a couple hours. So having hangouts, we wanted to be more consistent with it, but we just get too busy. But that's a great way to just have hangouts. Let's just come talk and chat and let them know you're there. And
Gotcha.
I've
Very
always had
good.
people show up.
Yeah. And you mentioned about having this family office that has $15 million to work. What is it about I guess, the hard money lending business that doesn't allow you to, is it because of you can't scale fast enough to take on their money? Or what would be the bottleneck to be able to help deploy their money faster?
So you've got a certain amount of deal flow, right? And then you've got too much money and not enough deal flow, you're paying out of pocket for that money. If it's private money, you've got it. Once they give you the money, they start wanting the interest on that money, right? In the lending game, it's a balance of deal flow and capital. So if I'm going to get $5 million of seed money, let's say my average loan is 300,000, I've got to have, what, do the math. I got to have a bunch more loans. All of a sudden my math brain just turned off. But I got to get a bunch more deal flow going in. And I may even have to hire an extra person to handle the extra volume of work. But then once you get that, then you normalize it, you can get another tranche. But I had an opportunity a while back. A guy wanted to do the same thing. He was one of the high net worth guys in Galveston. He really wanted to help revitalize Galveston. This was before the Airbnb thing took off and Galveston went nuts. But he wanted to get 20 million working down there. And I was trying to tell him, trying to get 20 million working in Galveston would be so difficult. There's not that many deals in Galveston to do. But we had an interesting conversation. It never happened. He ended up finding something else to invest in. But that's just the balance of the lending game. You got to have the deal flow to match your capital that you got to deploy.
Gotcha. What about, have you invested in any syndication type deals or
We're doing our
before
first
you
one.
invest?
Doing my first one now. It's a borrower that I don't know if you guys know Hinder and his wife Eddie. They're a great couple. I did the new construction. We funded their new construction. They found a nice little 20, 30 door apartment complex, but it's going to be a home run for them. And I told them I'm in, just like, let me know towards the end how much you need to close the gap. I got your back. And so they came back, I need X. And I said, all right, we're in. So now they've got their list because it's a agency loan, right? So you provide your list of who your syndicated partners are. So now they've got their list complete and they're hoping to close within the next 30 days on this apartment complex. That was our first venture. When you're a lender, when you look at how we make money, our returns are so great. If you're lending, you're actually getting around 60% plus or minus on your money. When you look at the points, the fees, and the capital you've got employed. It's just a leverage game, right? And so it's hard to do a 15, 20% deal when my alternative, but the Bible says you can have 5, 6, 7, 8 buckets or more, diversify a little bit, right? So this was a great bucket to diversify in. I like these guys. And as I'm getting older, I may start putting more into those passive investments just to be a little bit more rounded. But always get in the game. I just, who are you going to get in the game with? That's what it boils down to.
Right. So let me make sure I understand. So that deal, you didn't come on as a private lender. You came on as an equity partner in that 38 unit, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this came in
And,
just,
okay. And did you come on strictly as an LP only, or did you also come on as a co-GP?
just if I'm one of the syndication herd, just go in there. Mostly if
Okay.
I want to help them out, they needed to close the gap on the funding
Yeah.
and they get it done. And so we came in and it'll still be a good investment. We should
Right.
target still 17, 20%. It's a good way to diversify.
Gotcha. The reason why I mentioned that is because just the way that you able to, because back when I was doing private lending, the whole idea of wrapping around a first lien lender so you can get a better return on your money wasn't popular back then. And so I didn't know that strategy, but now I do. So in the syndication space, something similar to that also exists where instead of you coming on and invest as an LP only, if you come into the deal as a co-GP and help raise for that deal, you for for your own returns, you're making from the LP side and also from the GP side. So your return for every dollar you invest is much greater. Yeah, plus the return from as a GP from the money that you help bring into the deal as well. So that's something you might want to crunch your numbers on because when you're adding all of that up, your personal returns does go up pretty high.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm thinking with the family office money. It would be faster to deploy it if I could get into opportunity like you discussed, right? So I loved your hero conference you had a couple of weeks ago, right? Where that came up, right? And I was just like, man, light bulbs are clicking. That's why we wanted to get our son into the capital raising thing, right? Because that potential is there. We've got the capability of raising funds. And like for your audience, right? If you can just raise funds, you can make some nice money because there's two types of people, right? Those who have it and those who need it. And if
Yep.
you compare that, so we'll be talking more about that as this opportunity starts to hopefully blossom.
That's awesome. Okay. So far, all of your investors that you've talked to, you've only talked to them about investing as a lender, right? Up until this recent deal, you never talked to your investors about investing as an equity partner in deals. Is that correct?
We've done a couple of equity deals where if there's enough meat on the bone, the borrower doesn't really want to bring any skin in the game because he doesn't have any skin to bring to the game, but he's got the talent and the deal's deep enough. So usually we'll do maybe a 25% plus or minus equity position in the loan, plus provide the financing. And so we've done a couple of those. I'm real picky about who that investor is. Obviously as well.
Right.
And the main reason is you have to know who your capital partners are. Mine are engineers. And the oil and gas business is up and down, right? A lot of these guys are only as good as their next project. They really live project to project, and they make good money when it's going, but they never know after that project if they're going to have to live on that money or not. So they can get their money out after 6 months. So they like the flexibility of, okay, I can go in and I know I get my money out in 6 months if I need it. And that doesn't lend itself well to a lot of these multifamily deals where you need a 3-5 year commitment. There's people that want the 3 to 5 year commitment because they just want to set it and forget it. And there's others that want to be able to you got to tend to what your capital partners want in order to get their money. And since I lived through that, I'm only as good as the next project life. I understand that they understood it. Yeah, there was that mutual synergy for getting that capital from those type of people.
That's great. It sounds like for both to attract lenders and as well as attract borrowers, you just do a lot of meetings, a lot of networking. Do you guys advertise much at all beyond the networking?
We're getting better at it. I got 1.5 timers in that does that. We do 2 meetups a month with deal makers coming on board. We'll add another one, but we have a Spanish meetup on the second Saturday of the month for Spanish speakers. And that's actually one of our biggest meetup. And then we have an English speaking one. We have I'm a shameless plug. If anybody wants to come out and meet me Wednesday night, tomorrow night at Rudy's Barbecue on I-10 near Mason. So Rudy's Barbecue on I-10 near Mason. We have this month is going to be what we call the Halloween horror stories. There's 4 investors that got their butt kicked and they're going to share their mistakes so that hopefully everyone learns from their mistakes and doesn't repeat the same things. Get to meet us. We have our monthly meetup the last Wednesday of the month. And so we get a chance to meet a lot of potentially new borrowers at our meeting. They come out, they meet us, they meet the team. They like us. They don't necessarily like me, but they love the rest of the team and like what they hear. And it's all about community and all the resources there. We've got real estate attorneys there. We've got property managers, but mostly in the residential space, not so much in the multifamily space. So it's a little different crowd, but if you want to come out for some free barbecue and get some, I think they're really good information that we bring every week. So that's how we do that. We do a lot of email. I send out every 2 weeks rates are doing. So everyone wants to know where our rates. So here's all the different loan products, the interest rates are, people like that. Every week we send out the top 8 real estate headlines out there. So people don't have to go look at Wolf on Wall Street, Realtor.com, real estate news, all that stuff. Here's all the best stuff in one email. So we try to email quality stuff. We're not out there just, DSCR loans, Hardy loans. We're out there just trying good stuff. And then hopefully you'll call us so we can coach you and earn your business.
That's good. I like that. I like that a lot. I don't know how, I'm curious because a lot of people here are actually all over the country. Who here is in Houston? If you're in Houston, put Houston in the chat. I'm just curious to see. Yeah. Well, Rick knows this, but a lot of you guys don't know this. I'm going to be hosting local Houston meetings here very soon. We're trying to get one up on November 13th. So in 2 weeks from now. And we'll be running that one every second Thursday of each month. We're looking for a venue we're looking for a venue right now. Yeah, we try to cut costs. We try to go low budget because it does add up quite a bit to host these meetings because we're looking to get at least 100 people or more. And then between food and marketing costs and staff and all of that stuff. Yeah, it does get costly. But for those of you who are starting out, like if you're talking about attracting investors, hosting any kind of events really, whether it's networking type of events or meeting. I don't know if I told you this, Rick, but what got me interested in taking over the Heritage IRA's meeting is because of my conversation with Derek Long, who was running it. And Derek was telling me that they were getting over 100 people per month and 70 to 80% of them were accredited. I was like, wow, that's crazy good numbers. And so that's what got me interested in it. And anyways, hosting meetings, whether it's lunch and learn, whether it's networking event, the more you don't need big numbers. So let me actually, say that attracting the right people that you're looking for is way more important than the quantity of how many people you're attracting. I'd rather you have 5 like really targeted people that you invite to that meeting than to have 50 people that are just come there for free food and free drinks. So quality beats quantity any days when it comes to networking meetings and lunch and learn type of meetings. Yeah, events in general is definitely my number one. I don't know if you guys know this, but this show that I do every week it's been almost 3.5 years now. Wow, time flies. Almost 3.5 years since I've been doing this show. And my email database, 40% of my email database came from this show. So that's huge. Doing any kind of events, you can search about event-driven marketing. That's the term that you're looking for. Any kind of event-driven marketing is very effective. So I highly recommend that. All right, Rick, for those that want to reach out to you and connect with you, where would you like to send them?
So I just put a little thing in the chat, a couple of lines.
I see your email and phone number.
ACIfunding.com, and that's my personal cell phone number. I think Steve Kohler up above put in our office number as well. Thanks, Stephen, for doing that. But yeah, that's the best way to get a hold of me. That's my direct email, my direct phone. And I get on the phone a lot. So if I can't pick up, I'll hit a little thing until I call you back as soon as I get off the other line. But
awesome.
I'll return every call. It's maybe midnight, but I'm going to call you back.
Let's all call Rick at midnight. Just kidding. All right, guys, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you so much for being here. Rick, thank you so much for staying all the way into the end with us. Really appreciate you, brother.